face
Yes.
it, that whole
Goldsmith's an
Western
excellent player.
Division, while the Giants have sunk down in the division, Colorado, the Dodgers, and Diamondbacks have really played well this year. And probably two of those teams, you would think the Diamondbacks and Rockies both will be wild cards.
At least start contending for it, because Los Angeles is just running away.
Yeah.
With they on a pace right now. The Dodgers on a pace, and the Dodgers come to Atlanta next week. The Braves still go to Philadelphia before getting home, but then it's the Dodgers. I was trying to look on the TV and see if there's a Red Sox score yet, but their youngster, Rafael Devers, hit a home run. 20 years, 275 days old. He's the youngest Red Sox player to hit a home run since Tony Conigliaro in September of 1965. And if you're a baseball historian of note, you certainly know who Tony Conigliaro is or was.
What was the youngest player? I guess because of World War II, Joe Nuxall got in the
15 years old.
15 years old. Yeah.
15 years old. Yep. And got sent back down, and I don't think he got back up for another 7 or 8 years before he got back up.
Sent him back down. They say when you can shave, you can come back.
Joe Nuxall. He became a color commentator for the Reds for years. Yeah.
Rounding third, headed for home.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a good place to head if you're rounding third. When we're talking baseball, Whit Merrifield, a former Gamecock, is one of 7 players in Major League history with 175 plus hits, 80 plus runs, 40 plus doubles, and 20 plus stolen bases in the first 162 games of their career. And of course, 162 is a one full season if you played every game, which very few people do. But he's finally going to stick, because he was up and down a few times, and really he really was close to having to give it up just from a monetary standpoint. But his dad, Bill Merrifield, who I remember watching in college at Wake Forest, is he still at Wake Forest? He's I think he's in administration at Wake Forest or one of the schools. But he was a big right-handed hitter. I remember watching him many years ago. But his dad said, "Look, you stick it out. I'll help you." I think Witt probably can pay him back now. At least when he gets his next contract. Even the minimum in the major leagues is not bad. What's it, 472 now? 492, something like that. It's heap big bucks.
Sometimes, guys, it just takes a little time to get comfortable, get in the right setting. He's got good hitters around him. He sees good pitches, and just get comfortable in the field and your surroundings.
And
the game slows down.
He gets a chance. When you don't get many opportunities, you go in there and feel like you have to go 5 for 4.
Exactly.
Or otherwise you're going to be back down in Omaha.
By the way, I got that score for you. It's in the 9th inning, Red Sox leading the Mariners 4-0.
Chris Sale pitching. Now, see, that's what a stopper is. In modern baseball, somehow the definition of stopper has become synonymous with closer, but there's a difference. A stopper, Chris Sale is a stopper. Sandy Koufax was a stopper.
Stop a losing streak.
Absolutely. That's where the term came from.
Yes.
And even the National Collegiate Baseball Writers Association gives out a Stopper of the Year award, and it's to a relief pitcher.
No.
Relief pitcher's not a stopper.
No.
I need to do a seminar or something to teach some of these folks. We're still on baseball. The Gamecocks have some players leaving, and also the staff, Coach Mark Kingston's staff, was made official. So we'll get to that as well. And my Jets got a big pickup, baby. Yes, sir. It might make the difference. We'll tell you about that when we come back.
Okay.
Teddy after Tom Hayes, Sports Talk. All right, a lot of the NFL teams reporting today. Of course, the Panthers reported yesterday. Thomas Davis talking about Dave Gettleman, also talking about how he thinks that the Panthers can be pretty good on defense.
I sat down with Mr. Gettleman a bunch, and to his credit, he told me to my face that he didn't see a decline in my play. He told me that he had never seen anything like it before for a guy my age. So I guess it sort of put him in a tough position on making a decision moving forward. But it was never where he said something negative to me about me as a player or me as a person. We never had one of those interactions.
How much longer do you want to play?
Till I can't anymore.
Talk about this year. You think that is?
Who knows? I don't put a time limit on it. But realistically, it's more of a year-to-year thing right now for me, and I feel great right now. So we'll see what the future holds.
So you like a 1 year, 2 years?
I don't know.
Talk about this year's team. You've got a new defensive coordinator. You've got Peppers back, captain back, some new additions. What do you think about the team?
I'm very excited. And speaking defensively, to add a guy like Julius Peppers back with the experience that he has and, the ability that he has, I think when you look at Pep and what he's still able to do as a player, man, it's unbelievable. And you think about Captain being one of the best nickel backs in this league, and he's also a guy that is a versatile player because he can play outside if need be. So we're definitely excited to have Cap and Pep back. But then you add a guy like Mike Adams in the secondary, and you add L.J. McCray and to create some competition at the safety spot. I really feel like, we did a really good job in the offseason in the free agency market. And you look at the draft, what we were able to do offensively and bringing some of those guys in and defensively. I feel like, they did a really good job of completing this football team. Now it's important for us as players to go out and, make those new pieces fit.
All right, Thomas Davis. Thomas having a better day than Julio Jones. You hear what Julio did?
Earring.
He lost an earring valued at 150. What lake is that? 150,000. Please tell me. Well, I won't go dive in. Tell me where, because I'm going hunting that earring.
It's on the Greenville side of Atlanta.
I am a certified scuba diver. I am going looking for that earring. $150,000, and it's an earring. It didn't say earrings. Earring one.
Well, see, here's the thing, Teddy. Even if I had a lot of money, I'm not going to have a 100. What did you say, 50,000?
150,000. He hired scuba divers looking for it.
See, I'm afraid that somebody knows the value of that earring and pull a Mike Tyson and try to buy me,
right?
Bite my ear off and say, "Hey, got it."
It's just cubic zirconium or whatever. Yeah, $150,000 for an earring. Must be a nice earring.
I'm just wondering if a fish picks that up, off the bottom, and someone catches a catfish.
Can you imagine it?
A real nice prize.
Guts to catfish, a little catfish stew, and what is this here? Yeah, I'm sure he'll call and report it and turn it back in.
No, it'll be on eBay.
I'd sell it somewhere. All right. Any other football notes before I get back to baseball? Once again, Derek Earhart will join us. It's Earquart. It's weird. ERQUART. I think. I don't think.
Just think of quart.
Yeah, I'll just call him Derek. With Florence Post won. They won the American Legion State Championship. Wrapping it up today in Sumter at Raleigh Park. 6 players leaving. I think John Whittle, the Big Spur, had this story first, but 6 players are leaving the University of South Carolina baseball team, including one guy that I like to think I know a little bit about baseball, but I've never been able to figure out John Jones. John Jones had one of the hottest stretches you've ever seen. I thought, man, this guy's going to be one of the best hitters in the country.
Mm-hmm.
Played in 60 games as a sophomore, 55 starts, hit 269, 11 doubles, 7 home runs, and 49 RBIs. But he was well over 400, was the SEC Player of the Week twice early in the season. But all of a sudden, he was very susceptible to the off-speed stuff.
Mhm.
And he wouldn't keep his hands back. But coaches worked with him on that. But he would carry his hands forward, which made it very difficult to hit off-speed stuff. But he went from one of the best hitters I saw in college baseball to one of the worst. I mean, last year, he couldn't even get on the field. He had 093 with a double, a home run, and 3 RBIs. Couldn't get on the field. So he is going to transfer, looking for some more playing time. He'll be a senior, so he's got 1 year left. Senior pitcher Brandon Murray. This is another guy that I love his arm. He can hit 93, 94, 95, but he's no clue where it's going. And I'm always thinking, I said, Brandon, how about, I'm thinking this. I say, hey, Brandon, how about instead of trying to throw 95, throw 89, 88, 89, 90, just take a little bit off of it and throw a strike. You get a lot of people out in college throwing 90 miles an hour, throwing 88, 89.
You don't have to show it but once or twice, and that throws the timing off.
Yeah, he just struggled. He really struggled with control. I mean, the fact of the matter was you could not trust him in a close game because he'd go in there and he'd walk the bases loaded before you had a chance to get it anybody else warmed up. Redshirt freshman pitcher Jonathan Hahn, Jahn, John or Hahn. I'm not familiar with him. Redshirt first baseman Joey Pollock also are transferring. Josh Gregory, a redshirt freshman, sophomore Kyle Anderson. All those players are planning to leave the USC baseball program. There's some new rules with the with first time coaches where these guys can leave, and I think somebody correct me if I'm wrong, can leave and still
play right away.
Yeah, still. Well, and I'm not sure that's it, but anyway, the rule I'm thinking about, and I've got it right in front of me now, and I apologize if I misled someone, but first year head coaches can rework the current rosters. They can offer players the opportunity to stay on scholarship but not play on the baseball team. And if the player elects to stay in school, they get their scholarship money, but the money does not count against the 11.7 scholarships. In college baseball, you have to give a minimum of 25%. 27 of your 35 players are on scholarship.
Well, last year Davidson wouldn't have to worry about that, Teddy. What did they go with? They had about 3.5 scholarships.
I heard 3.5, and I heard 6.5. But either one, that's very impressive. Absolutely. Coach Kingston confirmed, solidified his staff, officially named his staff, I guess, whatever the way to officially announced is the way the press release from USC reads. Mike Current joins the program as the recruiting coordinator. Of course, he was with Kingston at South Florida. He'll also be the hitting coach. Longtime Gamecock Jerry Myers has been retained as the pitching coach. Stuart Lake will be the assistant coach, a volunteer assistant coach. Trip Couch has been named the director of player development, and Tyson Lusk has been retained as the director of baseball operations.
Well, Teddy, let me get your expert opinion. How important was it to retain Myers on that staff?
I think it's a good move. Jerry is obviously familiar with the conference, and he's obviously familiar with his pitching staff. And I think he's a very good pitching coach. He was the pitching coach for Team USA just a couple of years ago. Now, if the guy, I can't think of his name now, at South Florida who got the head coaching position, now if he had not gotten that job, Kingston would have probably brought him with him. You know how that works. But
was it Pole or something like that?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
something like that. I can look it up. It really doesn't matter. But anyway, officially now, the USC baseball staff has been.
Meaning they get paid.
Yeah, they get to get paid. Good point. All right, I refuse to struggle with this chair with the camera on. The hardest thing I have to do coming into the studio is getting this dang chair up to the desk.
There's an eject button on the side, Ted.
Yeah, I'm about to hit that eject button. All right, time to continue talking some baseball. We've had a little baseball talk today. Derek Eckhart from the Florence Post-1 joined us, former University of South Carolina outfielder who has turned into a pretty good American Legion baseball coach. Derek, how you doing?
Having me.
Hey, I appreciate you being here. It's hard to lose when you don't give up any runs. You played 2 games today. You beat Emmons 6-0 and beat Rock Hill 4-0. That's pretty good pitching.
Yeah, we had 2 of our best performances of the year by far, and Blake Robinson from USC Sumter, and Josh Price from Florence Darlington Tech. I certainly wasn't expecting it, but we had to balance our pitching staff a little bit, having to play 3 games within 16 hours, and the guys did an incredible job. Happy for them, and our offense came through when we needed it.
Well, Derek, now I remember mid-90s, you were hitting 350. I think you hit like 378 one year. You're not the pitching coach, are you?
No, you don't want me nowhere near the pitchers. I'll handle the hitters, but I'm fortunate we do have a very good hitting coach on our roster, and our pitching coach has 6 years of college pitching coach experience. So I'll let them handle it. I stick to just game management, and those guys do a great job helping me out.
Derek played at South Carolina 1995 through 1998, so he caught the last couple of years of Coach Raines' first couple of years of Coach Tanner. I coached some American Legion back years ago when I wasn't quite so old and fat, and I covered a lot of American Legion back in even my younger days. And some of you had the usual suspects then. West Ashley was good, Orangeburg was good, Sumter was good, Spartanburg had some good teams here in the area. Casey West Columbia was really good. Post 6 was really good, but Florence never really in there. When you got to Florence, you obviously had some building to do. How long have you been there now, and how difficult was it to turn Florence into, 4 out of 6 state championships? That's and back to back, by the way, Mr. Hayes, Tom Hayes was as well. Florence has turned into a American Legion power.
Yeah, we when we took over as a staff, so we were coming off of I can't remember. I know it wasn't a successful season, and then even my first year was we had a losing record, and it took us a couple of years, but we've had a good run here, especially the last 6. We had to take baby steps. First year, like I said, we had a losing record, and then the next year we made the state tournament, but went 2 and out, and then from there on we just kept building a little bit. But it's really a testament to the players wanting to play for the program. I mean, it's American Legion now. It's not like it was when you and I were playing and when you were coaching. It's a lot has to do with recruiting. There's other options and other places for these kids to play nowadays, and you've got to start recruiting and during the high school season and get players to commit. The days of open tryouts are gone. If you wait till the middle of May to have a tryout, you're probably going to miss out on a lot of players that could help your program. So we start from the day one of the high school season and start looking and evaluating players that we want to get in our program. We talk to the local high school coaches. We get their input, and we try to target some of these guys that could possibly be looking at a travel team or taking a summer off or doing other things. So, but the players want to play, and obviously we want to make sure we have a winning product on the field.
Well, I was about to ask you, you've won so many titles now, don't you have to turn guys away?
Well, that is funny. We've got a lot of interest. Unfortunately, you're only allowed 18 players for the playoffs, but you can carry. We usually carry 20 or 21 because we play a lot of non-conference and tournament games. So we'll keep a couple extra pitchers, maybe an extra catcher. But when it comes down to the playoffs, you have to have 18 players, and also for conference games. But we've had years where college guys that are signed to play for a college, we have to turn away. And most of our team are, just about all of our team, I think out of the 20 that we used during the regular season this year, 18 of those 20 are already in college or committed somewhere. So we have a good talent pool to draw from. And I hate it that there's not enough roster space for everybody, but it's just one of those things. It's a good problem to have.
You mentioned talent pool. What schools do you draw from, Derek?
We can get everybody in the city of Florence, so being South Florence, West Florence, Wilson. We get all of Dillon County. We get part of Marion County. It's kind of half of Marion is zoned for us, half is zoned for Conway. We can go down to Lake City, and then we get Darlington and Lamar. Well, depending on where in Lamar they live. Right. Sometimes some of those guys go to Hartsville. So basically just the greater part of the PD, but most of our players this year came from the city of Florence or Dillon County, being Dillon, Latta, and Lakeview.
Well, my buddy Bob Kleinkeneck, he helped you out. He's always been an outstanding coach there in the Florence area at West Florence High School.
He is, and actually, he just reached out to me 5 minutes before I heard from y'all. So he's doing good. He's enjoying retirement, but I tell him, it was because of him and his support of the program, where he would send his players to us during the summer. Is why we're here. I mean, when I first started coaching, I wanted to make sure I had the support of the local high school coaches, of him and Coach Gray at South Lawrence, to make sure that they would send their players to us for the summer and trust us to try to make their players better. But he's doing good, and it's always good to hear from somebody and get a thank you from a Hall of Fame coach like himself.
Coach Derek Urquhart from Florence Post 1. Coach, I've always screwed up your last name, and I'm sure I'm messing it up a little bit, so I apologize for that. Now, when I coached, you were limited to a certain enrollment. Is that still part of the rules?
It is still. It's gone up. It used to be I'm guessing when you were coaching, it was 3,500. It's now 5,000.
Okay. So
you can get a little bit more. We were able to get 9 schools under the cap this year, but in our case, we have a lot of small rural schools, so it adds up. But if you've got somebody like, for example, Conway's got 2 5A schools with Conway and Carolina Forest, and a couple of 4As with Myrtle Beach, North Myrtle Beach. So there's, they take a big hit with just a couple of schools, but with us, we've got a lot of small schools in our area, so we can. It is a benefit. You can take the best player from here, best player from there, and kind of build your team around that.
Coach Chapin Newberry winning the national championship a couple of years ago, was that kind of not necessarily a wake-up call, but just an emphasis, an exclamation point to the other American Legion coaches that a South Carolina team could get it done on a national level?
I think it really did. We were there. I think we had I know we made the World Series in 2012. Gaffney was there 2011. Sumter made 2 appearances in the mid-2000s. So we've been represented very well in the World Series, but never had come as close as to what Chapin Newberry did. And I just think it really showed that South Carolina American Legion is strong, has been strong, and hopefully somebody else, whether it's us or somebody else down the road, will continue that tradition.
Well, I always thank the American Legion folks for giving me the opportunity some 50 years ago to play American Legion baseball, and then the opportunity to coach some, and I also umpired a lot of American Legion baseball. It's a great program. I wish it got a little more publicity now, kind of like when we played. Wish it got that type of publicity, but still, I know in the Florence area, y'all get good coverage from the media. Back-to-back state titles for Florence, 4 in the past 6 years, and you're headed to Asheboro, North Carolina to play Kentucky. So might as well go ahead and get back in that national tournament again, Coach.
I would thoroughly enjoy it. I think the guys play well. We've got a chance with our pitching staff, but again, when we get up to this level, it's you're going to be facing good competition.
Coach, thank you so much. Tell Clank I said hello, and good luck next week.
I will. Thanks a lot, Teddy. I appreciate it.
All right. Wednesday, 12:30, they play Kentucky. And of course, you know it would not be Sports Talk without the award-winning recruiting report. And without further ado, the man, the myth, the legend, Jared Rogers.
The myth, the man, the legend. One thing I would do if I were indeed a legend enough in college football, I would use all of my official visits. I don't understand kids that do not, which brings us to our first person. USC has been out in front for defensive back Jonathan Gibson of Hodgson, Georgia, and that remains the case following his visit late Saturday for the Gamecocks social recruiting event. All indications are that he will formalize that lead into a commitment when he makes his scheduled announcement Monday. However, Gibson visited with USC and his parents, and he became fully engaged in a meet and greet portion of the gathering. He talked with committed and uncommitted prospects and spent a lot of time with defensive coordinators and defensive back coach Travarius Robertson and his recruiter, Coleman Hutzel. He also had some FaceTime with head coach Will Muschamp. It was a lot of stuff, really interesting stuff, Gibson said. I talked to a lot of the coaches. I really enjoyed myself. The cookout was great. It changed my point of view on South Carolina because at first I thought it was all business. Every time I went up there, it was all business and recruiting. Since I went up there on this last visit, I saw that it's really more about fun with them and just being comfortable. I think I'm in the same position where I was before. They're still my number one school. I think nothing has changed. Though the Saturday visit was mostly about food and frolic, Gibson also talked football with Muschamp and company, and he liked the things he heard from him. Coach T-Rob was more on part where he can develop me and get me into the league and be a mentor to me. He was more like, let me be comfortable with your decision, not forcing me to be so much like Coach Muschamp. Coach Muschamp won't take a no. T-Rob is like, take your time. We want you here. We need you here. Coach Hutzler is more like, we're having fun and enjoying the time with me there. We rock climbed together, and he introduced me to his wife. He wasn't really recruiting me hard, just having fun. With his Monday deadline approaching, Gibson said his plan is to keep in touch with the Gamecocks and make sure they know what he's thinking. Defensive lineman Rick Sandridge of Concord, North Carolina, spent Friday and Saturday at USC with his mother, and he said he thoroughly enjoyed the time and wants to go there once again. The Gamecocks will be in his top 7 when he gets around to announcing that soon. He no doubt would make his mother, a USC grad, very happy by picking the Gamecocks, but he said she's not pressuring him, and he's under no pressure to make a quick decision. So his recruiting will continue deep into the season, if not beyond. Sandridge was involved in all social aspects of Saturday's event, but there was a time set aside for recruiting talk with Will Muschamp and Lance Thompson. He said he saw Muschamp at least 10 times during the visit, and he repeated he has made clear to him from the start, we really need you and we want you here, and stuff like that, Sandridge said. At one point, it felt too good to be true. They made me feel like I was the number one prospect they needed. That being said, Sandridge is nowhere near ready to make a final decision, and he has a plan in place for the rest of his recruiting experience. Take more visits, use my officials, hit some games during the season, more than I did last year. I only went to 3 games last year, so I'm trying to pick it up more since this is my senior year. He is planning his visit to North Carolina unofficially for the Louisville game, and he wants to save his official visits for out-of-state trips. Sandridge's mother is active on social media, and when it comes to expressing her fondness for her alma mater, Sandridge sees that and knows that people think his mother is pushing him that way. But he insists that that's not the case. My mother doesn't do that at all, Sandridge said. She might be biased about them because she went there, but she understands that that's my decision, and she knows that she's not going to get anywhere. I'm going to be there. She can understand that. She also wants to see the games, and it kind of affects my family on seeing the games. If I wanted to go to Michigan or like that, or if I wanted to go to Florida State or the Florida Gators, that might affect her a little bit. Other than that, it's really my decision, and it doesn't affect me at all. I'm just real neutral with all the schools. I feel the same about all of them. And Clemson is in the holding pattern with a few remaining 2018 recruiting targets, but the Tigers are full steam ahead with a top 2019 target in defensive lineman Jacob Lacey, 6'2", 290 pounds of Bowling Green, Kentucky. He's not messing around with the recruiting process. He dropped his top 6 this week, and he's working expediently tournament before his junior season. Lacey camped at Clemson in June, and the Tigers are in his final 6, along with Louisville, Michigan State, Tennessee, and Notre Dame. I really loved my time at camp this year, Lacey said. I was there 3 days, and I loved the overall culture of Clemson. The coaching staff from top to bottom are on the same page. You can tell they care. Coach Bates and I are getting to know each other, and he always instills something positive on me during our conversations. Lacey also had some time together with head coach Dabo Swinney, and he considered that a special moment for him. Meeting and talking to Coach Swinney was surreal, he said. I think my dad got Daboed. He fell head over heels for him. I really like that defensive philosophy with Clemson. They love my athleticism for my size and said I have violent hands, I can bend great, and also have loose hips. They said me and my family are Clemson people. I love that they're spiritual people, and I can get a great education. Lacey has also visited Stanford, Louisville, Penn State, Notre Dame, Tennessee, Florida State, and Ohio State. This weekend, he's going to Michigan for a second time, and he hopes to get back to Clemson as well before he makes his decision. That will come no later than the end of September. And right now, the final decision is a tough call for him. I'm really praying because whenever I talk or visit these schools, I can see myself playing there, Lacey said. But I know what I want, and I can only say yes to one school. USC is in the top 9 with athlete Richard Jabbar of Athens, Georgia. Others are Alabama, Florida, Auburn, Tennessee, Georgia, Georgia Tech, Notre Dame, Louisville, and North Carolina. Offensive lineman Jemarie Saylor of Atlanta told Dog Nation he's going to sign in December. He's planning official visits to Notre Dame, Stanford, Ohio State, and is not sure if he'll take others. He does want to get back to Clemson and Georgia for games. Dutch Fork defensive back Bryce Thompson has been hoping to make his commitment announcement on Friday, but he has to successfully complete summer classes to be able to do that. Tuesday night, Thompson said he still doesn't know if he'll be able to announce Friday, but he's going to do something on that day. He can't commit Friday. If he can't commit on Friday, Thompson wants to before the season. USC, Virginia Tech, NC State were his top 3, and USC has been the one with the most contact in the recent weeks. Wide receiver Matthew Hill of Snellville, Georgia, told Rivals he's down to USC, Alabama, and Auburn with a decision coming soon within the next month. He visited all 3 over the summer, with USC coming last. Basketball news. Clemson coach Brad Brownell reached into California earlier this week with an offer to 6'10" Riley Batten of Oak Park. The Tigers joined Vanderbilt, Georgia Tech, Utah, Colorado, Northwestern, and Davidson as some of the programs with offers out to Batten. He has 28 offers in all. Batten is early in the recruiting process, and he's looking to narrow it down to 5 to 8 schools in mid-August and schedule official visits. Downer said Batten is an excellent scorer in the blocks, but he's also very good at coming down on the floor as a trailer, hitting deep threes. He's also very good passing out of the post. And last, Southern Utah grad transfer 6'3" Randy Onwasor has added a stop at LSU on August 8th to his official visit itinerary, and that's according to the Baton Rouge Advocate. He's going to Gonzaga August 1st and USC August 4th. Take it away, fellas.
All right, that's your recruiting report. So there's Thornwell, former Gamecock, has signed with the Clippers. He signed a 3-year deal for, I don't have a drum beat. You got a drum beat? $3.8 million. The first 2 years of the deal guaranteed.
That's the important thing, Teddy, because a lot of times a second-round draft pick, he's there, and if he signs, he might get that year, but you don't know what'll happen after. But Thornwell will show enough where he can, if the Clippers say, well, we don't have room for you, he can find room somewhere else.
I plugged this earlier and haven't mentioned it. The Jets picked up Lucky Whitehead on waivers. They like what he can do in the kick return game.
Okay.
He's only got 9 career catches, but he is kind of dangerous returning kicks. So the Jets are going to give him a chance.
Now, you sure
Whitehead said
the right head?
Yeah, I think so. But Whitehead said, "You sure? I would rather go to prison than go to the Jets."
Well, they might be wanting to save.
Might be. All right. Top of the hour. We'll be back. Don't forget South Carolina Wild a little bit later in the 7 o'clock hour.
stop now. More sports talk is on its way. Listen to the final word in sports all across the state with your host, Phil Kornblut.
All right, Phil's still taking a little time off. He'll be back with you next week. Teddy Hefner sitting in his chair, joined by Professor Tom Hayes. Jared Rogers is behind the bulletproof glass, and I'm sitting here about to cough up a lung. We got a poll question on the website, SportsTalkSC.com. If you played football, college or beyond, do you regret it? And the vast majority, Jared was telling me earlier, do not regret it at all. So if you want to check that out. Of course, this is in response to the study that we talked a great deal about yesterday. The neuropathologist, Dr. Ann McKee, studied 202 brains, 111 of them former NFL players. All but one of the former NFL players diagnosed with CTE. Even the high school
I got to
players.
find out who that one was. It's something about it. That may be the indestructible man. I don't know.
That was a backup quarterback who just held a clipboard.
Just held a clipboard.
Even the high school players had some mild cases of CTE as well. So there's Thornwell signs a contract, 3-year deal with the Clippers, $3.8 million, and the first 2 years of that guaranteed. Professor, I remember when he was coming out of Lancaster, right? In Lancaster High School.
I think so.
When he was coming out of Lancaster, our buddy, the captain, Kerry Rich, was just singing his praises about how good a player he was. And then when I saw him as a freshman, he was okay, but didn't, nothing special. So I started to say, but he eventually showed that Kerry certainly knew what he was talking about.
He had those knee problems early on, and once they got those knees straightened out, he was tremendous. But the one thing about it, Teddy, I know it's different once you get with your team, but just in the NBA Summer League, he never seemed to be in awe of his surroundings. Even with all that circus with Ball sitting there, it was like, okay, this is the young man everybody talking about. Okay, let me show him what I can do.
Well, the thing I like about Sedaris is he plays hard on both ends, and he'll take the ball to the basket, so he'll get to the free throw line, and he converts his free throws once he gets there. Now, you brought up the Summer League. He just signed a contract with the Clippers. I guess there's a different type contract during the summer because he's not out there playing for nothing because you don't want to get hurt, and that would really put you in a tough position.
Maybe they lean on the agent's checks. I don't know.
Well, didn't PJ get hurt? I mean, he played one game and got hurt.
Yeah, I think
PJ
he got
Dozier.
a little bit banged up. Yeah.
So not sure what his situation happens to be. Not good news if you're a Braves fan. Arizona 10-3 over Atlanta. The Yankees 9-5 over Cincinnati, but the Red Sox broke a 4-game losing streak to stay a game ahead in the American League East, 4-0 win over the Mariners. Cincinnati, for only the 7th time in Major League Baseball history, at least recorded time, they turned a triple play last night and gave up a run doing it. Only the 7th time that's ever happened. It's interesting.
Okay, all right.
The third out attack play, and the guy crossed the plate before. But that's only the 3rd time since 1930, and that's as far back as the stats went on that. Only the 7th time that has happened. So that makes that one of the rarest things to ever happen. The last time it happened was 1977.
Wow. So
that's one of the rarest things.
And then there's only been, what, a couple of unassisted triple plays, I think.
Bill Womenglass in the 1920 World Series had the first one, second baseman. Guess there's been a couple.
Well, I'll tell you what, getting back to the Braves, if you're looking at a team that's trying to build itself back up, and I'm a glass half full person. If somebody told you you're going out to the West Coast and playing two of the hottest teams in baseball in Los Angeles, the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks, and to come home what, 3-4 in those 7 games.
Well, they still got
think,
Philadelphia on the road.
Yeah, but I mean, just this West Coast swing. Right. I think you take that.
And Philadelphia sucks. But then when they come home, they're playing the Dodgers.
Right.
So, but that'll be a good ticket to get if you get over in that direction. Coach Mark Kingston of the Gamecocks has solidified his staff and made it official. We knew who the staff members were going to be.
New fiscal year, Teddy.
Is that it? Okay.
You get paid now.
All right. Mike Current followed Coach Kingston from South Florida. He'll be the recruiting coordinator, hitting coach. Jerry Myers retained as the pitching coach. Stuart Lake retained as volunteer assistant. Trip Couch comes over from Houston as a director of player development. I'm not really sure what a director of player development in college does. Now, I think he can recruit on campus. I know he cannot recruit off campus, and I might even be wrong on that. So don't take that to the bank. And then Tyson Luss retained as the director of baseball operations. Gamecocks losing some players. 6 players planning to transfer, including catcher DH John Jones, who put together just such a great stretch 2 years ago as a sophomore, but then all of a sudden just lost it. I mean, he not only couldn't get a hit, he could almost not put it in play. So he's going to transfer, looking for some more playing time. Same with Brandon Murray, who's got a really live arm. It would not surprise me to see Brandon Murray follow the Harper kid, Brian Harper, Bryce's older brother. Right. Who couldn't pitch at Carolina because he couldn't throw a strike. He just they couldn't trust him to throw a strike. And the same with Brandon Murray. But once Harper got signed professionally and was able to concentrate on baseball, not worry about classes or anything like that, he had some success. Now he's bouncing back from Tommy John surgery right now. But Murray is a guy with a great arm. I think he was the Indiana Pitcher of the Year or Player of the Year but you couldn't trust him to put him in a ball game because he couldn't throw a strike.
Well, the interesting thing is, Teddy, in deference, I've never seen you umpire, but let's face it, when we look at a game, if a pitcher can put the ball where he wants it, when he wants it, the umpire is going to give him a generous call at times. And the guys who don't have any control, you'll see it and say, oh, that was a strike. But he's not going to give you a break. Because he does, because he knows you've been wild. My philosophy is it's a strike until it proves otherwise. According to the rule book, only one stitch has to cross the strike zone for it to be a strike. No, just any part of the baseball. And college, I understand. And the black is in play. The black of the plate is in play.
And I understand college umpires having a little bit bigger strike zone, but to me, college umpiring the last 10 years has just not been very good. And I don't know why. They won't call the strike right down the middle of the plate at your belt buckle or at your belly button. They won't call that. No, it's too high. But it be 8 inches off the plate. You couldn't reach it with a boat paddle, and they're ringing that sucker up. And I don't know how the college zone, I don't know how it evolved to that. And then you'll throw a pitch right on the black inside, and they won't call that. I mean, you got to give the pitcher something. Well, I'm sorry, to hit or something.
Yeah, but one of the things I didn't like, Teddy, is consistency. Because you say you won't get the inside pitch on the black. Well, he might have done that in the 3rd inning. Then you go in the 6th inning. But wait a minute, now you call that a strike. See, if the players know where you're coming from early in the contest, there shouldn't be any arguments. This is the strike zone, and if you're consistent with it. But I saw a lot of inconsistency.
Well, I saw a lot of consistently bad. That's what I saw. Sophomore Kyle Anderson, redshirt freshman Josh Gregory, Jonathan John, some of the other players who are leaving. Anderson had Tommy John surgery, so set out the last season. Gregory was unable to throw due to injury, redshirted his first year on campus as well. John did not pitch his first year on campus. Joey Polak, also first baseman, transferred. All right, we'll be back to some of your calls. We got room for you. 800-956-7266. Sports Talk. I got SC Wild coming up a little bit later. I think we're going to talk about some sharks. My first wife, if you're watching via television, my first wife had a fetish about sharks. She just loved sharks. I mean, we'd go all over the place so she could go watch sharks, the aquariums and all that stuff. You know that Myrtle Beach aquarium where you can walk underneath them? That's pretty cool.
She didn't tell you to stand closer to the aquarium.
No, she she did kind of get me one time. We were close to alligators. I do remember that. The Gamecocks have picked up a commitment, according to John Whittle, 24/7 Sports. You know how to pronounce this cat's name? Jordan. You're guessing like I am? Okay.
Ingabari.
That's close enough. Kingsley Ingabari, 6'4", 255, out of Atlanta, Georgia, has committed to the Gamecocks.
Well, we're bouncing all over the place because you mentioned yesterday the Puerto Rico tip-off basketball tournament. South Carolina knows the opponent and now the time. South Carolina will have an 11:30 in the morning tip-off on November 16th as they take on Illinois State on ESPN2. So
you got the rest of the matches?
No,
okay.
Just that television.
We had that yesterday, and I don't know what I did with my notes on that. Don't have it. Don't have it. But Gamecocks, I still find it hard to believe that was it CBS Sports had them picked 10th in the SEC.
Oh yeah, that's hey Frank Martin loves that. He'll just bring that in to the locker room and say, "Here's where they have us."
Yeah, you're probably right. You're probably right. The master of the we don't get no respect, excuse the grammar, was Frank McGuire. I mean, he used that to motivate his teams for years.
I got the other matchups here for you now. Boise State will take on UTEP, Iowa State versus Appalachian State, and Tulsa versus Western Michigan. Now, what hurts South Carolina is you always want to play teams with a high RPI. And for whatever reason, Florida State tipped away from this tournament and pulled out. So they will not play in this tournament. And Appalachian State was put in his place.
They didn't want anything to do with the Gamecocks. That was the problem. You think? I
think Florida State had about 10 7-footers last year and a bunch of shooting guards. He looked like they had an NBA team out there last year.
All right. We had the matchups yesterday. Now got the game times. And of course, the Charleston Classic. We mentioned that yesterday as well. And I can't remember who Clemson plays. I had that written down, but that's down in Charleston as well. John Rothstein from CBS had those matchups yesterday as well. All right, we're 37 days away from the opening football games. USC's first practice is July the 31st. Clemson's first practice will be on August 3rd. So we're just about there. Just about. What do you think? A little over half of the NFL teams have reported now, Professor?
I think more than that.
More than that? Okay.
Yeah, I think all of them get in kind of early because they want to see the young players first. They want to see what they have, and then they'll start thinking about, weeding those guys out, then developing guys, see where their bench strength is, and try to make some moves because, everybody talks about this young player showed promise. Why did they cut him? Well, to some players, let's face it, Teddy, the earlier you cut, the quicker you can get on with another team. Because if you're one of the last cuts, it's hard to find another team to get to.
Right, good point. The Jets are one of the last teams to open training camp because, they don't need as much practice. So they are one of the final teams that will open the camp. All right, 800-956-7266, 800-956-7266. I'm still hearing some Clemson fans who will say, who are saying that they would be content with a 10-2 season. I don't buy that. And I guess it depends on the two, and I guess it depends on what happens as far as getting toward the Final Four. But 2 straight years in the national championship game. I mean, if you're Clemson, don't you think, Professor, that your goal is the college football playoff? again?
Yeah, and let's face it, they'll take some nicks, but as you said before, last year, if you were a Clemson fan and I told you lose to Pittsburgh, you thought you were out of the national championship.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not the case anymore. Everybody's playing tough schedules now, especially once you get in conference play. And you can deal with one, even two losses sometimes. And I think for Clemson, after last season, they lose a lot of quarterbacks this year. But I think the ACC has garnered more respect where you can take a couple of nicks depending on who you lose to. And if you win your division and win the ACC championship, you still can get in that Final Four.
I tell you, we're going to know a lot early about both the big teams in state, with the Gamecocks opening against NC State and Charlotte, and then Clemson the second week against Auburn at home, and then Louisville on the road. All right, to get to the phone, Will, did you say Las Vegas?
I said Las Vegas.
Will, all right. He's putting some money down on them Tigers or Gamecocks or somebody. Will, how you doing, sir?
Hey, good to talk to you. Yeah, I grew up in Florence, went to high school, Wilson High School, city champ, 5K, cross country, 1648 on 5K. I want to see a football player do it that fast. And but I'm proud to be living in Las Vegas now. And let me tell you something. I'm still a Gamecocks fan, and I won some money when I bet on the women Gamecocks to win the national championship. I'm glad they pulled through for me. But let me tell you something about
send some of that money to
Raiders.
Mississippi State. All right, go ahead.
Let me tell you something about Las Vegas Raiders. There's Oakland and Northern California hate us in Las Vegas because we stole their team fair and square using a $1.9 billion stadium that we made an agreement with the University of Nevada, Las Vegas to use our stadium as well. Can you imagine being in the MAC conference and coming to play UNLV in a brand new NFL state-of-the-art stadium, how intimidating that will be? But I want to alert you that Las Vegas is a competitive city. They're very proud that we took the Raiders. That new stadium's going to be open in 2020. And that city wants to win, and you're going to see some huge thing out of the Las Vegas Raiders because they have unlimited financial backing.
Remember, though, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Well, only thing you worry about UNLV, though, just like Tulane, who tried to play in the Superdome in New Orleans, you just hope you have enough fans in there. That thing won't be an echo chamber because sometimes that happens also.
You can certainly lose your home field advantage if you don't have enough players there. Hey, Will, don't be a stranger and leave your phone number somewhere in case I come out to Vegas. I need somewhere to stay.
Well, it's interesting, Teddy. I think I hate when a team moves, but I really do hate when a team moves from the personality of its town. And the Raiders are Oakland for whatever reason. Even when they moved to Los Angeles for that little flirtation down there in L.A., Raiders fans, most of the fans were people who came from Oakland down in the Coliseum. Right. And they still practiced in Oakland during the regular week. They flew to Oakland and just flew down to L.A. for the games.
Yeah, they just wouldn't build them a stadium. Just would not build them a stadium. And they're, I don't know. I think it's going to be a success there as well. Vegas will have pro teams from everybody down there. All right, very quickly, I think Mike is with us from Aiken. Mark is with us from Aiken. Mark, how you doing, sir?
Hey, how you doing, guys?
Great.
Listen, I just heard you talking about Clemson going to 10-2, and you're not so sure about that. Now, Chloe, back me up on this. I think they will go 10-2. I'm a Clemson guy. I think the two losses will be to Louisville and Florida State. Now, I've been wrong before. I'm sure wrong at least once a day, but I do think those will be the two losses. And now that could change. Pro, back me up on this. If Alabama just shows me a whole lot in that first game, and Florida State's not as good as maybe people say they are, I just think Clemson's going to go 10-2 because of the inexperience at quarterback. I mean, Deshaun was a once in a 25-year player.
Yeah,
I just say it's 10-2.
All right, 10-2. I just don't think too many
but Florida
fans are going to be happy
comes
with
to
that.
Death Valley this year, though.
Yeah, that's the key there.
Mm-hmm.
Try here this time.
It's time to get wild with SC Wild. Everything hunting and fishing from the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources and your host, Phil Kornblut. SC Wild on Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network.
All right, Teddy Hafner sitting in for Philip, and looking forward to chatting with the captain here, and really Captain Downer with us, and talking about sharks. Is it Shark Week or something?
It is Shark Week on Discovery.
Oh, okay. Well,
and this is the week that my TV in my house shuts down. If I try to touch the remote, I get screamed at by my wife or others because they want to watch shark. I heard you talking about earlier about your wife and infatuation with sharks.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is about sharks, but people are fascinated by them.
Mm-hmm.
And then they are a incredible creature, no doubt.
I don't want to get too close to a shark.
You know, they are one of those apex type predators in the ocean. You know, not much eats a shark. I've seen some, I guess they've seen some things lately with killer whales, maybe attacking sharks in a couple places, but certainly they're at the top of the food chain, no doubt about it.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I heard somewhere that more people in this country are attacked by cows than are attacked by sharks.
I would probably believe that statement. In fact, we'll get later in the show talking about how little actually there is human interaction with sharks in a negative way in our state. But, you know, we have a lot of water in the state, a lot of coastline.
Right.
So people are fascinated with sharks. And often they get the bad rap just because they got a lot of teeth, and people think they're mindless machines. And, you know, they are certainly a instinct type predator, just like alligators. They're thinking about eating and living pretty much all the time. That's their whole being. So one of the things we want to talk about, you know, when you look at Discovery Channel and during Shark Week, they always talk about tagging. Like last night before last, they were tagging sharks to see where sharks go. And I was interested to learn from our own department. We have been tagging sharks for years in our state. A lot of tagging going on.
Explain exactly what tagging is.
Now, tagging is you're going to go out and you're going to catch a shark. and you're going to take a tag or a marker and place it on the dorsal fin of the shark. Most times I think the tags are on the dorsal fin. Those tags could be just a physical tag with a marker, or today's world, you know, with the geo tracking we have, it's going to have some kind of satellite tracking device on it so that they can ping that shark and know where it's at. They've also got listening devices that help us find sharks when the pings come close enough in to find out where they are, the sharks that they're researching. Now, why do you tag a shark? Well, they're trying to do, in fact, starting in the next week or so, or now, our department starting aerial surveys for research and monitoring through the month of September, this time of year. And there's dozens of shark species that we monitor for their health and how they are doing in the marine estuary system and saltwater environment. So,
well, let me ask you before we get, and I hate to keep interrupting you, but
No.
I'm curious. If you're tagging these sharks, you're finding out where they go. What is the range of a shark? I mean, would they go from South Carolina to New York, or New York to Florida?
That's right. That's a good point. You know, and what are we tagging, first of all? What kind of sharks? Well, we do a lot of tagging. I asked that question. One of the things we tag a lot of, we have a lot of tiger sharks. Tiger sharks are those really cool looking sharks that have the modeling down the side, that not striped like a tiger in the wild, but certainly have a striped appearance to them. Beautiful sharks, but they are a part of our estuary, a part of our coastal environment. They're natural here. But a great white, which we've seen a lot of tagging and a lot of interest in. Of course, when you walk Shark Week, you're going to see lots of great whites because they're the guys, they're the big sharks, 16, 18 footers, even 20 footers sometimes. Lots of teeth, you know. People want to see those powerful sharks. You watch them launching out the water after seals and things like that. But we've got some sharks now that have been tagged, that were tagged up in New Jersey, that are off our shore sometimes and go down through Georgia and back up. So they travel ways.
Is that following feeding?
That's normal, just normal. And they're talking about things, you know, listening to the shows that female sharks sometimes have a 2-year cycle of where they go. And that has to do a lot of times with them wanting to breed and then give birth to young. They go to certain areas to give birth to young. And some sharks take a long time for young to develop. Now, most sharks birth their young live. So they actually pup. They have pups. And interestingly enough, in our state, you know, great whites don't come here to pup. That's not what happens here. We do have tiger sharks, though, and tiger sharks do pup or birth their young here, and their young grow up in our coastal environment. Because we have a very rich, very healthy coastal estuary, marine estuary system that has lots of food for lots of animals, not just sharks, but all the fisheries. Our fishery in South Carolina is great.
What do most sharks feed on, or do different species feed on different type fish?
They do feed on different types of fish that develop, and you know, you see the shows talk about hammerheads and the electromagnetic they have in their head to kind of help them sense things on the bottom, to find the things they eat. I can't remember exactly what they eat, but I remember there's something different than just fish. They eat the shells at the bottom and things like that. Some different crustaceans that they find on their
kind
sand.
of like a scavenger, huh?
In some ways, but you know, some of the species, and I list them off because I have to write them. I can't remember all of them.
Right.
Some of the several dozen sharks you've never heard of. We have sharp-nosed shark, black-tip shark, spinners, sand tigers, and bonnetheads, just to name a few of the sharks that are very common in our system. Sharp-nosed and bonnetheads. The bonnetheads, it looks a lot like a hammerhead. Their head's almost, it looks like a hammerhead, but it's thicker, and the head almost looks like a shovel. But bonnetheads and sharp-nosed are what you see a lot of times catching. You'll catch those on inshore of our streams, basically, saltwater environment there. But you'll find those.
The reason I asked about the food is I really love going to the aquarium in Myrtle Beach.
Sure.
And the one in Charleston. And you see the sharks swimming with all these other fish.
And you don't see a bloodbath going on.
They don't eat them because they're full or they're not hungry. Is that the basic of the reason?
That's correct. Okay. I mean, again, remember, sharks have been around for thousands of years. They're part of our marine system, been here for a long time. They just don't go out and bite everything that moves. They are eating when they need to eat, and they live as a part of our coastal environment, the ones that live here. So they're not constantly wanting to go kill. So when you see the films and things, you see a shark launching out of the water for seals, again, that's its food group. It's learned a technique to surprise that prey. And a lot of things you see where great whites on the other part on the Pacific coastline are growing, they're connecting that to where seal populations are getting larger again. because we've stopped hunting of seals. Things that happened in the late 19th and early 20th century where seals were still being hunted almost to extinction. Well, now that's stopped. A lot of protection for marine wildlife, including seals, marine mammals, and they're rebounding in areas where they're rebounding. They're forming new colonies, and all of a sudden sharks are showing up. Well, that's kind of part of nature.
Mm-hmm.
The shark's the part that controls them naturally. So sharks are moving around some places. But the thing to keep in mind here, great whites don't call South Carolina home as far as pupping and things like that, but they are here. Okay. For a long time, there were thoughts that great whites were deep water, didn't come in much. Now, not so much. They do come in, and if you want to see some interesting stuff, our department's been again working with tagging for a long time. One of the things my daughter did last year, she was showing me you can go to the computer and you can go to OSearch, which is a research group that's been helping with tagging. And in fact, our department's worked with them some on tagging sharks here in South Carolina. And they've got the satellite markers, and you can look on there and see all the sharks. They got them named and where they're at, where they came from. So it's pretty neat. You'll see how great whites move around. You'll see particularly around our state and around the southeastern coast here, you'll see a lot of tiger sharks. Well, that's natural. They're here. The tiger sharks we've tagged, we've tagged some big ones, and a really big tiger shark's 11, 12 feet. That's a big shark. Again, you think of a 12-foot animal. If I'm 6 foot tall, it's twice the length of me. But it's not a great white, 16, 18 feet. It has all that girth. It's not quite as big of a shark, not quite as menacing to me.
Somebody wants to check out that computer site. It's OCEARCH.
Yeah, I think if you Google it up and say Google up sharks, you'll see that online. It's kind of a neat site to see where sharks are going around. But again, that's another research group, not DNR. But we have worked with them on tagging sharks in the recent years. Again, we've been tagging sharks for years.
How scared should people be of sharks when they're on the beach?
Good question. How many times, think of the thousands of people who go to our beaches every day and swim. Now, some people don't like to get to the beach. I love the beach. I love to get in the water, been in the water ever since I could swim, and that's where I learned to swim was at the beach. But every year we have 3 to 4 bites that occur. We have not had a fatal shark attack since the late 1800s.
It's impressive. All right, we'll be back. South Carolina Wild with Captain Billy Downer.
It's time to get wild with SC Wild. Everything hunting and fishing from the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources and your host, Phil Kornblut. SC Wild on Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network.
Teddy Hefner sitting in for Phil. We're talking with Captain Billy Downer of the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources. I want to get back and reiterate. We were kind of running a little bit out of time in the last segment.
Sure.
We've not had a fatal shark attack in this state since when?
The late 1800s, so over 100 years. So, again, 3 to 4 bites a year. Most of these bites, or excuse me, all of these bites are a case of mistaken identity. Shark bites, realizes it's not prey, lets go, goes away. Now, does that make the person that gets feel better? Probably not, but with the thousands upon thousands of people every day hitting the water, which is millions in a summer, that's all we have as encounters are these are minor, typically minor encounters. And so the question, but how do I prevent from being the person that gets bit? Well, pretty simple. Sharks are in shallower water like that. They're smaller sharks. They're looking for something to eat. They're going for a flash, looking for that skin of the fish. Sun glare of fish. They're going for that flash and they bite. Wearing jewelry is probably not the best idea. Take jewelry off.
So I got to take my belly button ring out.
Yeah, take your belly button ring off. But rings on the fingers, a lot of the bites occur on hands or on feet extremities. So take anything flashy off so you don't want to be mistaken for a fish or a flash. Right. So pretty simple. Again, none of our bites have been fatal in over 100 years. So good news there. Sharks, again, get the bad rap. They are part of our natural environment. We do manage for them as we do manage for a lot of different animals. And they are a really cool animal to see. I love to watch sharks. I'll go home tonight and I'll watch Shark Week again and watch what I can learn again tonight. So I thought it'd be interesting to talk about sharks a little bit in South Carolina. Not great whites per se, but the other sharks, the tiger sharks, and the bonnet heads and sharp nose and black tips, spinners, things of that nature to talk about. But while we're talking about fish, I guess we just should do a fishing report.
Okay.
See where we are on the coast. The South Carolina Governor's Cup for 2017 just concluded last week. The final leg was at Edisto Marina. After all the scores were tallied, the Griffin, captained by Chucky Moore and owned by Colby Griffin, was the overall winner of the series with a total of 7,475 points earned. One interesting note, during that tournament, the sailfish bite, the billfish bite was very strong. They caught over 70 billfish and released them in one day. That's a lot of billfish. Most of those were probably sailfish, they said, but 70 in one day is a tremendous day offshore from South Carolina.
And you catch them and release them?
Yes, sir. Caught and released. That's right. So a lot of fun for the fishermen out there. Kind of a big game fishing story there, but catch and release.
Okay.
So good luck there. Local fishermen on the coast inshore have seen a slight decline in the trout bite, and that's mostly due to hot weather. I don't know about trout, but I know I don't like going out when it's 105 degrees. I can stay out about 2 or 3 hours and got to go back in and recoup and get cool again. But water temperature in some areas along our coastlines up to 84 degrees and higher, which is like bath water.
Yeah, that's hot.
So fishing tends to drop off during that time unless you can find a really deep hole. Redfish continues to be pretty good. The bite continues to be pretty good. Flounder bites holding pretty steady. Again, I'm a big proponent of going out and gigging flounder because at night it's cooler. A lot more fun to me at night. But a lot of people like to flounder fish with mud minnows and some other simulated bait. So the flounder bite's holding steady. Sheephead remaining to be caught on inshore structure and offshore structure. If you know where they're at, they are still biting pretty good. But again, the key there is finding a deep water hole where fish may hang out where the water's a little cooler in cases there. So that's the saltwater report. Brim and shellcracker continue to bite in our local lakes, depending on the moon, of course. So watch that. We've got.
Well, you say, of course. See, I don't understand that. Explain that.
Well, typically before the full moon, the week before is where fish bite really well.
Okay.
So
I never knew that.
Well, there you have it. A week or two before full moon is when it really bites strong. So I just kind of follow that moon again. When it gets really hot like this, though, everything slows down. Right. Fresh water, salt water, whatever. If it's really hot, fish don't want to expend a lot of energy. So
do they dive deeper for cooler water?
Sometimes fish will go in the cooler water, certainly. Stripers this time of year are deep. They're in the cooler water. of course. So fishing. Now, again, remember, we remind people all the time, on Lake Murray, if you're fishing right now, got to catch your first 5, and that's it. You stop. Because when you're pulling these fish up from deeper depths, it injures the fish. It hurts the swim bladder from pulling them up, fighting from so low, coming up, and the fish typically will die because of the energy expended. So that's why we have the law now. The first 5 fish, particularly Lake Murray, not Marion, Lake Murray, right now, the first 5 fish you catch, you have to keep. That way you're not out there fishing, throwing a fish back that's going to die.
Gotcha.
Nobody wants to see that. But coming up, we'll talk about next week coming up. One of the things we want to make sure we get out there is kind of prep for next week's show. We're going to be 1st of August coming in there talking about the deer tags. A lot of people still asking questions about deer tags. We're going to have biologist Jay Cantrell with us next week, and we'll talk about deer tags in detail, how you will get your deer tags, how those will work. We'll talk about enforcement of the tags and just any general questions. So if you got questions about deer tags, save those for next week. When we come back to SCY, we'll talk about those deer tag questions then with Jay Cantrell. So we're excited about
I'm going to ask you one right now.
Go ahead.
Why do you tag the deer?
Tagging deer is the law was passed last year.
Okay. Gave
us a year to get prepared for it. Comes into effect now, 2017 deer season. There has been a lot of interest from deer hunters in the Southeast, in South Carolina, not just DNR, but actually deer hunters came to the table and said, hey, we see a decline in deer population. We'd like to see better management for deer. We'd like to see tags for deer. And so we move forward with that effort through our legislature, and we're successful in getting a bill passed with a lot of help from the legislature on that. Give them credit for that, for seeing the need to do that, to where we can manage deer a lot better. In the past, we didn't have to tag deer. It's hard to keep up with deer being taken from one part of the state. They show up at a processor 2 counties over. You don't know where it was taken from.
Gotcha.
So tags now, deer, when you take a deer now, this deer season, any deer that's shot must be tagged at the point of kill, and it can't be moved until it's tagged. And that tag stays with that deer until you go to the processor or until you process it yourself at home. So it's a management tool for us, for enforcement tool as well. So the officers, when they see a deer, they can check, see that the tag is there. Very easy to enforce that. Helps us track our deer kill a little bit better, making sure folks are using the tags. There's a limit now, $5 per season. A lot of people have been wanting that for a long time. So we've got a $5 limit, which will help our deer population rebound in some areas. There are some areas people will say there's still as many deer as there used to be, and that might be true in your area, but there are a lot of areas where the deer population is taking a downturn from coyotes and other reasons. But other areas, again, a lot of farmers, just like I said before, if you had a dollar bill tree and people were taking dollar bills off your tree, get upset. Farmers equally get upset when deer are eating their crops because that's money out of their pocket.
Well, when I come into work and I do a morning show and I come down A.J. Amick Road there by Valentine 2 or 3 times a week, and I'll have deer run out in front of me at certain times of the year.
Sure.
Obviously, which I find kind of cool because why are they up that
Except
early in the morning?
Hit your car.
Now, I'm always careful about that, but yeah, because they can do some damage.
Sure.
I mean, the car's going to win probably ultimately, but it's going to take some. It's going to take some
thousands
blows.
of deer get hit every year on the roads, and for that reason, the insurance companies particularly have an interest in deer season too. They want to make sure that deer, because we don't have the natural predator for deer is gone in this state. We don't have wolves anymore. We don't have cougars, the eastern cougar. So hunting is a conservation method for us to help control deer populations, and the tag system will help us control that.
I noticed bar over in Valentine got a lot of cougars hanging around. That's different kind.
Different kind of cougars. That's right.
Captain, I really appreciate it. Really enjoyed talking to you.
Look forward to next week talking more about tags.
Talk some more about the deers next week. We'll be back with you tomorrow here on Sports Talk. Try to get Andy Solomon with us tomorrow from down at the Citadel. He's written a book about his first 25 years at the Citadel. That tells me he's planning on getting another 25 in. Down there.
Phil gave me a copy to read. I already started to read that. Yep.
Citadel Athletics. So I'm looking forward to, or we're looking forward to having him on tomorrow. Jared, anything else tomorrow that's of?
We got Mike Morgan. He'll talk to us a little bit about baseball and just the general run of things across all over sports.
All right. Marvelous Mike will join us as well. All right, folks. Appreciate it. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Thank you, Jared. Thank you, Tom Hayes. And thanks to the captain.